Hey friend, Alex here from Audio Edges, and do I ever have an exciting tutorial for you today. Have a listen to this rap vocal, raw and dry with no effects.
Rockin' Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big ol' things. Everybody stopping.
All right, and here is what it will sound like by the end of this tutorial.
Rockin' Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big ol' things. Everybody stopping.
Okay, so what I would like to do with you first is go through the vocal chain exactly, show you exactly what's going on. Then we're going to jump into a very, very simple reverb and delay combination. And then finally, we're going to end with two vocal effects, a delay throw, and the really cool stutter intro that you hear. We're going to break everything down in detail, and I highly encourage you to stay until the end, because if you do, your rap vocal, hip-hop vocal mixing skills will definitely be leveled up in a brand new way. So let's get started. I'm going to bypass everything here, and we'll go through one by one. As you can hear, we have this vocal recording. Okay, let's take a listen.
Here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big ol' things. Everybody stopping.
So you can hear that, you know, it's a nice, clean, dry recording, passionate performance. So those are all great things that you want to get in your recording. You can also hear there's a little bit of maybe room echo or a little bit of room reverb that's coming into the mic.
Rockin' Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
So one of the things we're going to do is use a gate and stuff like that to help with that and control it a little more. But the very first thing, based on listening to this, was just checking the key of the beat, which using auto key, right, we can just find like this. Okay, and after a couple seconds, I got F minor, so I sent that to auto tune and just putting a little bit of auto tune on the vocal to start. Okay, put it on low male because obviously this is like a kind of baritone male hip hop vocal, and I put it in F minor. Now, I don't want to go crazy with the tuning, so I've just got a little bit of retune speed. Maybe you're even watching this and wondering, why do you even have auto-tune on a hip-hop vocal to begin with? Well, believe it or not, every vocal is actually in a key, whether it's more sounding like it's more spoken or whether it's very melodic and sung. And so what this is doing is just tucking it into the key of F minor whenever it has an opportunity to do so, okay? But I didn't want to make it obvious in any way, so that's why I've turned up the humanize setting, because that makes it sound much more natural and adds that realism, right? So let's hear it without the auto-tune.
Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
And just a little bit tucking it into F minor where possible.
Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
All right, so really very, very subtle. Just tightening it up. Listen to that with more retune.
Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
So that's obviously not what we're going for. So just a tiny little bit of auto-tune is going to be the first step. Next step is an EQ, okay? So we're doing some really good practices here. I'm rolling off everything in the lows below, in this case, 110.
Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
And that's because this vocal through the entire song, there are no notes with fundamental frequencies, meaning the lowest frequency in the performance going actually below kind of this 150, 120 area. So it was safe to roll off everything below then. It depends on the vocal. You have to watch where your vocal kind of starts and ends. You don't want to roll off all of the fundamental frequencies or lowest frequencies, but I just want to clear out anything in the bottom or any mud or room noise. And then I'm doing a little bit of dynamic EQ on those lows as well. And then we're hitting this frequency up here. And we'll come back to that frequency again, because after compression, it starts to pop out. Okay, so that's our first move. Now we have our next move, which is a compressor, and this is just doing some peak compression, grabbing the peaks of the vocal. Okay, so let's take a look at this.
Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
Okay, so any compressor will work for this. Ratio of 3 seems to work really well for me. I come back to the sitting a lot, go with a fast attack and a fast release, and then just dial in the threshold until you're just grabbing the peaks. So let's keep an eye on peaks like this, for example, right here, or peaks like this, or like this, just when words are getting a little bit louder. It's just controlling only the loudest words, okay?
Dickies in Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
So it's grabbing those more dynamic moments, but barely touching the rest of the words. This is not the main compressor. This is just kind of a first compressor to smooth out those louder words, okay? And then after that, it looks like I wanted to add some highs in at this point, okay? Some engineers like to add a lot of highs and crispiness right at the beginning. Some like to add it later. In this case, I hit the highs right away with a high shelf, and this is pretty aggressive. So listen before.
Dickies in Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And after.
Dickies in Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And it looks like I also added another low pass here. This may or may not have been necessary because I already have one up there.
Dickies in Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
But the main thing, high pass, but the main thing is just adding those highs at this point, okay? And every engineer will do this differently. I like to add a little bit of highs along the way, and I felt like if I add some now before the main compressor, the compressor is going to bring out this nice character in this vocal and in this mic. So that's the approach. Now we're adding the CLA76. You can grab any 1176 style compressor for your vocal, and these will sound really, really great on hip hop vocals. If you go with a medium attack, right? So in this particular compressor, that's going to be right in the middle. And a fast release, which on an 1176 compressor is all the way to the right to 7, okay? Ratio of 4 or 8 works really well for vocals a lot of the time. So this is the approach that I settled with for this vocal, okay? Let's grab a different part of the vocal so we can listen to this compressor with a fresh perspective.
Things, everybody stopping, moving through the city like a criminal. Michael Jackson smooth.
Okay, so see how hard that compression is hitting? It's around -7 to -10, and that's because with this style of vocal, we're going to do a little bit more aggressive compression than just more of like a ballad vocal, for example, okay?
Things, everybody stopping.
Okay, and let's grab another little section to listen to.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
Okay, so before.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And after.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
So obviously we're adding some gain there too, but that's okay because I keep gain staging and keeping the plugins in check all along the way. The compressor brought out a lot of the S's, so now we're just doing a bit of de-essing.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
Okay, I can listen to the side chain, and that's how you kind of find the frequency. Flip it into the side chain, listen to the frequency, and in this case, I'm on split mode. Okay, so just after the compressor bringing out a lot of the sibilants in the vocal, I'm just tucking those in with a DeEsser at this point. What I like to say about DeEssers is whenever you notice S's becoming a problem, that's when you add it. A lot of engineers will always say, put the DeEsser first, always, or put the DeEsser last, always. The approach that I found that has worked really well for me on hundreds of songs mixing vocals is put the DeEsser wherever you hear the S's start to become a problem. As soon as they're popping out a little too much, that's a great spot to tuck in the S's. You may need to add 2 DeEssers here and there throughout your chain. It's going to be different every time. This worked really well in this case to put the DeEsser there. And now we have a vocal that sounds like this.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things, everybody stopping.
Okay, so it's getting there, but we still have a few little problems that we need to deal with. The compressions obviously brought out the room sound a lot. So we have a lot of the room sound being brought out, hearing more clearly, along with all the nice qualities of the vocal. That's a byproduct of compression. And those S's are now really tucked in, maybe a little more than you'd like at this point. But what you'll notice is we're going to brighten up the vocal again in a moment, and that's going to bring those S's back out. So in this case, that's okay. Here's what I have next, a little bit of multiband compression, okay? And what this is doing, I've got my pop vocal preset, and all it's doing is adding kind of this nice pop vocal EQ curve while compressing the very highest highs and the high mids and a little bit of highs, and then just kind of a lot of the main meat of the vocal, compressing each of those separately.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And this multiband compression, I actually call this my 3-step compression technique. It goes peak compression, main compressor, and then finish it off with multiband. This is what gives it that very highly compressed, modern pop, like rap vocal sound. Radio ready kind of that modern sound, that playlist, you know, top hits sound. Is the vocals are very, very compressed. And so this is one of my approaches to get that, is add a little bit of multiband compression at the end, and it is going to bring that very compressed sound out. So be very, very careful with this depending on the genre, because it's very easy to overdo it. In this case, we want to overdo it. We want to hit it hard. And here's with that multiband compression.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
All right, before.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And after.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
Do you hear how the movement of those different bands, it just brings the vocal to life, right? And here's the next thing I like to do to bring the vocal to life. This is actually an audio level destroyer plugin. It's called DevilLoc, and it's from Sound Toys, but essentially what it's doing is just crushing the vocal. This is crushing, crunching, compression, and saturation. And here is, I'll dial in the mix very heavily. So right now I only have the mix at 20. I'll dial it in really heavy so you can hear what's happening.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stop it.
So that's obviously way too much, causing a lot of distortion and just crushing the vocal, killing all the dynamics, right? So listen with nothing, and listen as I dial in just a little.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping, moving through the city like a criminal. Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
Okay, so this gives it that attitude, that edge, and that last bit of compression, okay? And yes, it's a lot of compression. We are mixing. You heard how the vocal sounded at the beginning. We're getting there step by step, and this is just really finishing off that kind of consistent, in-your-face, aggressive rap vocal sound, okay? So this is one of my secrets, is DevilLoc mixing. Usually I'm mixing in much less, but in this case I felt it needed just a little bit more to give it that extra attitude, okay? As you can hear, DevilLoc's bringing out a little bit of that room noise again in the recording. We're going to deal with that in a moment, but just before that, I added a little bit of fresh air, and this is just adding those crispy highs. If you ever listen to like a Drake vocal, or any of these like mainstream rap artist vocals, you're going to hear this sizzle on the very, very, very top of the vocal. And you can get that by adding this like high sparkle from this. This is a free plugin, by the way, Fresh Air. This is from Slate Digital. Killer plugin. Use it all the time. Sounds great on vocals, snare, all sorts of stuff. But adding this high sparkle on this vocal, listen to the before and after. So here's before.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
All right, and here's after.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping.
All right, so it's just this tiny little bit of extra sizzle, okay? You can be more aggressive, less aggressive. You need to listen to the vocal with the track as you're chipping away at your vocal chain. You need to listen back and forth with references to make sure you're just in that right zone of sizzle, with not too much where it's harsh and painful to listen to, but where it's just, and also where it's not too dull, but just where it's just right. Okay, so now let's open up Arvox. This is a plugin that's really kind of like a finisher plugin. I love to use it. You know, it's a great compressor and gate, but I also love to use it near the end of the chain sometimes, because it can just finish out all the work you did and just smooths everything out and glues together basically everything else in your chain. And that's what I really like about it. So I am applying some compression and just matching that a little bit with the gain as well. Not perfectly, but you know, compressing makes it feel louder. So I'm just getting my output in a place where it's safe. The other part of this plugin that is very useful on this vocal is the gate, right? We've been talking about how the sound of the room where the vocal was recorded, a lot of that room is coming out. And so all we're doing with this is controlling that a bit with the gate. So listen before.
Rockin' Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing.
Okay, and here's after.
Rockin' Dickies here, Versace. Y'all just need to watch me.
Did you see how the room, the little bits in between the words of this vocal, the little spaces, just got attenuated just right. So the vocal's right up and in your face still, but the rest of that kind of background sound is tucked away. And that's because of this gate here. Okay, so Arvox to finish things up and clean up the space that the vocal's in, get it nice and dry for us. And what I did was, because Pro Tools only allows for a limited number of plugins, I've just bussed this vocal into another track where I can just add a couple last finishing plugins, okay? And all those is one more EQ dealing with, once you compress and add saturation and stuff like this, you're going to bring out parts of the vocal. And this is just me tweaking these mids here, okay? It got a little bit too present or harsh to my ears in the kind of 2.5 to 4K range. And then I actually did a little boost around 5K. So listen what it sounds like before.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping.
All right, and here's after.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping.
The vocal just feels a little more warm and just controlling some of these frequencies in particular, like right here and right here. We had some whistling tones there and some little bit of harshness there. And it cleaned up really nice when I just added this EQ. Okay, so just cleaning up the high mids a little bit, getting a little bit picky with them. And then the next thing we did is add some warmth. Just a little bit of tape sound, actually. This is very, very subtle. And I'm not using it really aggressively. I'm using it especially just, I felt like I wanted to warm up the mids a bit. So listen to the mid section solely.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
Okay, and here's with that tape bypass.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And back on.
Versace, y'all just need to watch.
It's very, very subtle, but I'm just thickening up the mids a little bit. And what I also did up here was saturate the crispiest highs. So literally everything above 12K right up here, I'm just saturating those as well. Okay, so just adding a little bit of saturation to those highs. And so here's before.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And after.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
It's like such a subtle difference. And this Saturn plugin is, it's a saturation plugin, and you can do all sorts of crazy stuff with it and make really aggressive sounds, crazy distortions, all sorts of interesting, this plugin's nuts. But sometimes I just use it to add the subtlest little bit of warmth or character, or saturate the highest highs, because what that can do is just smoothen it out. It makes the highs pop, but it also smoothens them out, right? That's what saturation does. So that's one more little finishing touch. And the last thing is just tapping the top of the vocal with Soothe 2. Soothe 2 is a resonance suppressor. This is any little peaks in the highs that are going to be ear piercing. The whole goal with this vocal is to make it bright and in your face and popping without being painful to listen to. A lot of mistakes that beginner mixers will make is they'll make their vocal really, really bright and in your face and sparkly, and that's awesome, and we want that sound, but we don't want it to be harsh or piercing or painful. And so this is one tiny little touch with Soothe 2.
Versace.
This is what I'm taking out.
Everybody stopping.
This is one more way I just ensure to pocket the highs of the vocal. Okay, I added one more, not a gate, but an expander. It's essentially a gate, but instead of doing a hard cutoff, it attenuates gradually anything below a certain threshold. Okay, and that's just to control the room again.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things.
Okay, and it also gives this kind of pumping and attitude to the vocal that you wouldn't really expect to come from a gate or an expander, but it's doing that a little bit too. Okay, last thing I did was This is like such a hack as this Oxford inflator. And this in this case, I'm just using it as a little bit of excitement. Okay. Bringing in a little bit of this effect. So here's before.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm
and after the inflator.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
Let me crank that effect so you can really hear it.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping.
Okay, so it's just making the vocal a little bit more present as a whole, but also just has this really good feel. I find with this plugin, Oxford Inflator, the band split mode sounds really good because it's applying this effect that inflator adds, but it's doing it to distinct bands of the vocal in different spots. So it allows for the vocal to still move kind of in that multiband kind of way, and give it this character only where necessary in each section. So that's what's going on there. That's the vocal chain. Here again is the before and the after. Here's before, right?
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things.
And here's the after.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping.
Okay, so that's where we're at now. What I'd like to show you next is a really, really simple reverb and delay, which sound like this once we put them on.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping.
Okay, and with this type of vocal, you really want to keep the dry sound of the vocal. You don't want like a long haul reverb on a rap vocal. So what we're doing in this case is one reverb, and I'm using Verb Suite, and I've literally just grabbed the bright small vocal space. You're just looking for a small vocal space with just a shorter decay, and I tweaked a little bit in here so it wasn't as bright as the preset was, and that just sounds like this. Okay.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping, moving through the city like a criminal.
Right.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big.
So you can hear how short that is. I'm doing it as a send to a return track and blending it using the send. Okay. That's how I'm doing this, and I'm just adding a little bit.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping, moving through the city like a criminal.
Like literally just a little bit where you barely hear it. But what this does really nicely is there's still a little bit of that room sound from the recording, right? And this small space just blends with that existing kind of room in the recording to make it just sound natural and like it's just perfectly meant to be. And so it worked out really well. Okay. And it also just adds this little bit of an environment, a room for the vocal to be in while still feeling like the vocal is so close and so dry, because it's not an overbearing reverb. It's not a long reverb. Okay. It's just a short little reverb, very, very quiet in the background is going to be great for this type of rap vocal. Okay. Next thing is the delay. Let's have a listen to the delay.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody's.
So this is, again, something that's very, very quiet and in the background. Here's it all alone.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old.
Okay, so I cranked it there so you could hear it, but I'm keeping it very quiet in the mix. And all that is this is repeater from Slate Digital, but you can use any delay plugin will do. The key here is make sure you're set to the BPM of your song, and we've rolled off all the lows, so high pass filter and low pass filter. Okay, so we're dialing in the low pass about to, a little over 4K, and high pass all the way up to 1K. So there's only one little band that's coming through. And then very short feedback, only one little repetition, and a 30-second note in this case, because it's supposed to sound like a bit of a slap back, but not a bright kind of 50s guitar or 50s rock vocal slapback. We want a very kind of just behind, saturated, slapback with character, but one that you don't realize is there. That's not obvious. So here's what it sounds like.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things bigger.
Okay, so we don't have very many highs in that, and that helps as well. Together with the reverb, it sounds like this.
Versace, y'all just need to watch me.
And with the track,
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, bigger things. Everybody stopping.
okay, and without,
Versace, y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things bigger.
okay, so that's what we're doing there. The final part of this tutorial, we have come so far together, but the most exciting thing, we always save some of the most fun stuff for the end. This is going to be our effects. We have two effects in particular we're going to look at. The first is this delay throw, okay? So I'm going to the track, and I'm going to add a send, okay? This is a send from the track, okay? And I've automated just on 2 words here, okay? Automated to unity gain to 0 dB, going nice and clean at the same volume into this delay throw track. I'm going to bring it all the way up so you can see it. And on that is just a quarter note delay, okay? It is filtered, so you're going to want to add a filter to it. And I brought the volume down so that it's more of a quiet in the background delay and not too much in your face. Once again, you can use any delay plugin, and this is doing a nice quarter note repeat, and it sounds like this.
Things, bigger things. Everybody stopping, moving through the city.
Did you hear that on the word stopping? Listen really closely.
Everybody stopping, moving through this.
Okay, so it's that repeat in the background. Let's do this next one together.
Everybody watch it happen.
Happen, okay? Let's do this word. We're going to bring it up to unity gain. Whoops. We're going to bring it up to unity gain to 0. Here we are.
Everybody watch it happen.
Great. That's exactly what we want. We don't want to overdo these. If you do it on every single line, it's just going to sound like a bit too much. But now we've got 2 really nice, tasteful, well-placed quarter note delays happening here with a send to unity gain going to a return track where we've put the plugin. And of course, the plugin is fully wet because we're blending it in here. All right, this is great. Let's move on to our very last effect. And this is the one that sounds like this.
Rock.
All right, so there are a few repetitions of it to get you in the vibe.
Rockin' tickies.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create this absolutely fresh for you so that we do it together. Here's how this turns out, okay? We want to make a new track. We want to grab the very first word, okay? So in this case, it's rock. And just the beginning of it, okay? And we're going to have a couple repetitions. The first I'm going to place on my new track, okay? I'm going to place it here. We're going to go 8th note, 8th note, 16th note, 16th note. Okay, so here's the next 8th note. And then it's going to be 16th note, 16th note. I'm actually going to mute this part here in this original track because I'm changing it on this new track. I'm going to add a telephone filter. That's how we get that sound, okay? So here's what we've done. It's a little bit different than before.
Rockin' tick.
That's where we're at, okay? There are a couple things that we're going to do together here. And the first one is just bringing over these plugins from this first track onto our new track where we've added these stutters, okay? So I'm going to copy most of the chain over, but we don't actually need the whole chain because the tone of this vocal is going to be filtered anyways. So I'm just getting that main compression from my chain in, and none of the really detailed EQ matters because I'm just going to grab a phone filter like this, okay, at the very end and place it behind. So now I'm going to call this vocal effects, right? Now it sounds like this.
Rockin'.
So totally different.
Rockin'.
Now what we need to do is a couple things. All right? The filtered ones are going to be panned right and the one that is all alone on the lead vocal track needs to be panned. Oh, we're going to actually be panning it from this bus, remember? We're panning that one left. Okay, so these are panned right, these are panned left. So quarter, just to recap, 8th note, telephone, right, regular lead vocal track, left, 16th note right, 16th note right, okay? So let me also cut off the end of this, and what I'm going to do is fade these so that they're not popping, okay? We don't want them to pop. Get clicks and pops when you do edits like that. And then the final piece of the puzzle here is just a little bit of volume automation. So as you can see in this lead vocal here, we're at full volume for the lead vocal.
Rockin' Dickies in Versace.
But this one, this little stutter that we've put of the word rock, we have to bring the volume down. It's quieter. Listen at full volume.
Rockin'.
It pops out. We don't want that. So we've tucked it in, automated the volume down.
Rockin' Dick.
And we're going to do the same for this side on the right. And I'm going to actually do it as more of a fade-in type of thing, right?
Rockin'.
Because that'll give it a little bit of momentum and that extra oomph to push into the first line of this rap vocal. Check it out.
Rockin' Dickies.
All right, so it gets a little bit louder, especially on these last two 16th notes. So let's have a listen to this now.
Rockin' Dickies in Versace.
Okay, I think this side might still be a little bit too loud.
Rockin' Dickies.
That feels perfect. The last thing we need to do is add a little bit of extra reverb just to these stutters, okay? So let's hear this.
Rockin'.
All right.
Rockin'.
Just a little bit of extra space. I'm just using our existing reverb. You could add a longer reverb just for this particular effect if you'd like. And I'm going to make a send from here as well to our reverb for these telephone stutters. Okay. And now with the reverb, it sounds like this.
Rockin' Dickies in Versace. Y'all just need to watch me. I'm doing things, big old things. Everybody stopping. Moving through the city like a criminal. Michael Jackson smooth as a. Everybody watch it happen.
My friend, I'm so glad that you invested this time to go through this tutorial and level up your vocal mixing skills. I promise you, if you start applying some of these techniques, you're going to hear improvements in your vocals very, very quickly. Shout out to Matthew Green, who allowed me to use his vocals in this tutorial, and this is actually his song, so shout out to him. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I have another video about 5 rap vocal effects that you can start using today. I think you're gonna love it, so go click on that here. I'll see you in there, and otherwise, happy mixing.